Welcome, everybody, to the Three-Man Weave College Basketball Show presented by SportsbookReview.com. I am your host, Matt Cox, and before we do anything today, we have to start off with a very, very special announcement. In the wake of Coach K's decision to forego the rest of Duke's non-conference schedule, we here at the Three-Man Weave have decided to not do that and to continue our content and our coverage of the season for the entirety of the season. On. The show has to go on, Jim. Thank you. Ky, Jim, it's lovely to see you here. We are committed to bouncing back after a frigid-ish cold week. We are the bounce back boys, so I have no doubt that we will respond. We will ignite a weekend here for everyone here. Before we go forward and look ahead, let's reflect on what we saw last night. Ky, I'll start with you. Any key takeaways, learnings from Thursday evening?
Well, Matt, number one, it's just nice to have a smaller slate finally in this crazy basketball season. So a nice breather, but also, injury news. Sometimes it's tough to catch, guys. One of UMKC's best players, Nesbitt, was hurt in practice during the week. That wasn't caught by anybody, nor did I see it around the Twitter sphere or in newspapers, what have you.
Fan forums. They didn't have it until the game.
And then Douglas Wilson for South Dakota State, which actually works in our favor if you're a North Dakota State backer. Their best player. He also was injured in practice, and no one seemed to know. So injury news sometimes is a bit annoying, guys.
Yep, agreed. Matt, you said it's been a frigid week. It's mostly been a frigid week for me. You guys have dragged my dead carcass through the week. It's been a complete, embarrassment, shit show, whatever you want to call it. I'm also committed to bouncing back, though. So we got a big Friday coming up. I'm excited. I just wanted to shout out San Diego State and some of the other high major squads. They've now beaten the top two teams in the preseason Pac-12 power rankings or media poll. Gonzaga's beat two of the top three teams in the Big 12. The A-10 has knocked off two of the top three in the SEC. The rise of the high major guys, these non-Power 6 schools, kind of beating up on the big boys a little bit.
No question, Jim. And we'll talk a few of those, I believe, in the rundown. And to what we have here is all Friday games on the show slate here. But chat mod, please pepper in your questions about any other games we don't have for this evening, or if you're looking ahead to Saturday, we're happy to talk about some of those as well. I know we've started to work ahead. It's a pretty big Saturday slate. We're starting to get to not quite full conference season, but close. Before we begin, a few plugs here. SBRodds.com. Line value is king. Please make sure to do your line shopping there. SBRpicks.com. Expert analysis, picks, breakdowns, etc. Our stuff. It's all there. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let's get into it. Marquette at UCLA is where we start off today's show. We're heading out to the West Coast here. Two teams that I would say there's a green upward arrow pointing next to their stock ticker. Marquette with the impressive win over Wisconsin. For the most part, handled Green Bay, and the encore of that was kind of a tricky letdown spot. UCLA has been very well in addition to that after kind of a troubling start. Ky, I'll start with you. Do you like either one of these teams who seem to be trending in the right direction right now?
Well, it seems to be a pretty good spot for UCLA. Marquette, as you said, is sort of riding high off that crazy Wisconsin win, a game that they probably should not have won, some controversy at the end of the game there. And the Bruins just pounded San Diego, certainly not a great team, and one coming off of COVID. But still, impressive to get UCLA blowing out teams once again as sort of a primer for this game. This is the best defensive team Marquette's ever had under Wojo. Yes. But I don't think there's still an answer for Chris Smith. He's just that unique of a player. A sort of guy that Marquette doesn't have an answer for. Now, on the other end, I think UCLA has an answer for Theo John, a big guy from Marquette that's been very, very valuable for them thus far. So I lean UCLA. The number's a little bit too high for my liking currently, but that's where I stand.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on UCLA, a little bit of a lean there. Them getting Johnny Juzang back last game was a key difference maker. I think he had 10 points in 19 minutes. Adds another big shooter, so he can defend a little bit, and he's an added element offensively for a team that probably kind of needs the boost on that end.
Yep.
But yeah, Marquette going all the way across country here with a big East opener coming up on Monday against Creighton. I would lean towards the UCLA Bruins here hosting, but it's nothing strong for me here. Matt, what about you?
Yeah, nothing strong for me either. It's interesting to see Marquette, as Ky mentioned. Their identity this year is far different from what we're used to seeing with Marquette teams. So I think that bodes well. It's kind of a pot, meat, kettle situation with UCLA, Mick Cronin, their physicality. Marquette has been rebranded as such with Theo John there being the enforcer, the fulcrum inside. Feels like it could play well for the under, but I think the price is accurate, so I'm not going to actually take it. Let's move right along. Back to the other side of the country we go. The Big Apple, about between St. John's and Seton Hall. Seton Hall will play host here. Not to give away my best bet of the day, but I have a strong lean here on a certain side. I think we all sort of agree. Jim, I'll go to you first. Are you gonna spoil the folks where my best bet is today?
I don't know you want me to dance around it? I don't know.
Just ruin it. Just rip the plug right out.
No, you go. Just say it. You say it, and then I'll talk.
I love the Johnnies. I think Seton Hall's backcourt's in for a rude awakening here, Jim. Shavar Reynolds has played very well this year, far above my expectations. Kind of an unproven point guard that came in to run the show, a forgotten backup the last couple of years. He's now the main act. He's been, like I said, very efficient so far, but we've seen some turnover issues with this Hall team in a few matchups earlier this year. I think they turned it over 15 times against Iona, 14 against Rhode Island. And St. John's, when their pressure is dialed up to 11 and they're locked in for a full game, which I expect them to be motivated tonight, I think it sets up for a very favorable X and O matchup advantage for the Johnnies. It feels like a pick'em game. I'll take the points, which I know the lines come down from, I believe, 6.5 to 5, 4.5 now. Anything
Chris had opened at 7.5, and now it's down 4.5.
Yep. I would take 4.5 still. 4 is kind of where my cutoff is. Again, I think this line is insane. I don't know what the odds makers see in Seton Hall right now. Jim, do you concur?
Yep, the lean was to St. John's. It's probably, that 7.5 to 4.5 move has moved it out of my range, but I did like the Johnnies here. I sort of lean the under as well, just a conference game where potentially the teams are a little tighter. St. John's isn't quite playing as helter-skelter as they have in some games already this year. Yeah. But yeah, these two teams seem pretty close to even so far, especially with how well Champagny has played for your boy Champagne. For St. John's. And Mamu's been a monster for Seton Hall. He's like potentially Big East Player of the Year caliber. He's like handling the ball. He might be the key against the St. John's press because he can bring it up. He can pass over the top. But yeah, I still lean towards St. John's with you. I think there's a little bit of value maybe. Kai?
Yeah, lean St. John's. I mean, I'm not totally confident. They struggled with Ryder. They barely got by St. Peter's in their first game. I know they had some injury trouble for that one. But I agree about the Shavar Reynolds take, Matt. He has been very good, but his turnover rate is hovering around 26% right now. That's bad. And Mike Anderson teams pressure the living crap out of you. That's going to be a real advantage for them in this game. Conference game, that whole aspect favors the Johnnies too. So I think the Red Storm are going to be a play for me if it stays around 5. Goes down to 4, I'm probably going to pass on it.
What about 4.5, Kai? That's where it's at.
Pass.
Just say yes.
I'll let you guys have it.
Kai will regret that. Folks, I think that's a great side. I'm just going to be honest. That's one of my favorite plays of the year. Famous last words.
Wow, holy cow.
Yeah,
I'm gonna lock in the under there, by the way. I'm seeing 150, 150.5. I'll take the 150, so the push if it happens.
We are front loading some of our favorite picks today. Good for us. It's just great show outline design. So we'll stay on the East Coast here. Georgetown hosting Villanova. Nope. Kind of a tough spot here for Villanova, I'd argue, off that really gutty road win at Texas. That was a full 40-minute, 15-round heavyweight matchup there. Georgetown, kind of an enigma type team, right? Played out of their competition, but we saw them take West Virginia to the wire. They were up. West Virginia pulled away late, I should say, but they were up 7, I believe, midway through the second half. Georgetown, this team is not that talent rich. Ewing just hasn't recruited that well since he's gotten there, to be honest, especially the last 2 years. Kai, do we think Georgetown can kind of scrap it up and do what we've seen them do against big, high caliber teams, or do we see Villanova run away with this one?
I think they can keep it within double digits, as weird as that might sound. It sounded weird against West Virginia, too. They were winning a lot of that game. Yeah. They almost blew the cover right at the end. But, the Hoyas, like you said, they kind of play to their competition, however weird it may be, however poor the team may be, however good the team may be. Nova's clearly the better team here. They should be favored by double digits. Strangely, I just think Georgetown can keep this close. So I'm going to lean towards the Hoyas, but not bold enough to put my money on them.
Yeah, I think the difference is Villanova's defense. They're long, they're interchangeable, they can do a lot of switching. The one concern is they don't have like a true center that can body up against Qudus Wahab, who is like a pretty good one-on-one scorer in the post for Georgetown. He's got some nice footwork, some good touch around the basket. So they're going to have to swarm him and then kind of close out and recover. I don't really trust Georgetown's ball movement to cut that up enough. So I'm going to take the under here. I think coming in another kind of like the Big East opener with Johns and Seton Hall, maybe they play a little tighter. I think Villanova's D is good enough to kind of clamp down here with their switching. So I will take the under. Let me get a number here for you. 143 is what I'm seeing. they're all over the place over the board, so I'm kind of trying to take a consensus number.
Yeah, the line is around 11.5. I think it opened at 12. That does feel big to me. My prices have it. It tells me it's fairly priced, but that does just feel high for a Georgetown Villanova. It seems like it should be a closer game than that. But let's keep cruising here. Nebraska at Creighton, Husker ball. We have a showdown here in the Husker States. These games have actually been blowouts recently, usually in the favor of the Blue Jays. Do we see a similar type of runaway here tonight from the home team? Jim, I'll start with you. Creighton starting to get a little more healthy, starting to kind of play like that strong favorite we know them to be historically, not exactly playing against a very strong defensive unit in Nebraska here.
Yeah, my number leans Nebraska, but I'm scared of it. Creighton off that heartbreaking loss at Kansas, Zagorowski missing that last-second free throw to go to overtime. I could see them coming out very angry against the in-state rival here. And, yeah, like you said, blowing the doors off. Spread up at 14. I would lean towards Nebraska on number, but I certainly cannot recommend it with how well the Jays could torch them offensively. I do like the over. I think the over is a solid play here. I think both teams are going to want to run, and both teams can score and maybe not quite stop the other team. So I will also take the over. I'm a totals guy on today's pod. I'm looking at trying to pull up the board for 152.5 is the number I'm seeing right now. So I will lock in the over there.
Yeah, cosign, Jim. Over 152.5. That's my play in this game. We're going to see a game in the mid-high 70s, I think, in this one. Both teams have sort of trended that way so far this year. That's obviously enough to cover this point total. And also, we've talked about it a few times, Nebraska, this is one of their better teams in the last couple years, certainly better than last year's debacle under Hoiberg. So I think 14 points, 13 points, I believe what it came down here to is reasonable for Nebraska to cover in this one. So I actually lean the Huskers on the side in maybe a less fan-intensive game during the COVID environment.
I think I agree with Jim's over. Zagorowski, he's not 100% healthy, and you can kind of see some of that rust the last couple of games, but I think he's starting to get back to 100%. He's really the catalyst. He sets the table for all the weapons they have there. And I like Lat Mayen, the former TCU transfer to Nebraska, playing some small ball 5. He can step out and shoot it. So I think there's some open floor spacing on both sides if it gets into a half-court game. But if you're on the over, you need this to be more up and down. And I think Creighton dictates that tempo, and it should be a pretty high-possession game. Obviously, Freddie Hoiberg, the mayor, he loves to run, so he's not going to shy away from that. Should we pause for a chat mob intervention, a break? Any inquiries, Kai?
Yeah,
I thought I was our boy today.
I didn't actually appoint anyone. Yeah, that's right. Thank you,
me
Jim,
out of
for stepping up there.
It's sad. Matt's trying to erase me. I deserve it, but I get it. All right. Abby Jackson said St. Mary's was her lock of the day. Hosting, Matt, your boys, San Jose State. How do you feel about this? I know you're a big Spartan lover.
Big Spartan lover. I was last year. I'll just be very clear about that. I just thought they were less bad than other people, and I actually made some money off that prognosis. But this year, they are, I think, pretty bad. They had to get a 38-point performance from Richard Washington to sneak by a bad D2 program in their kind of season opener tune-up. St. Mary's is actually playing. They're showing a willingness to run a little bit at times, opportunistically. And I think that plays well here for them as a large favorite. I know St. Mary's low possession team doesn't seem like it'd be a good favorite team, but I think they score easily on San Jose and they cover. So I have St. Mary's small. Excuse me.
All right. Eric Chang asking about Milwaukee and Kansas State. K-State maybe been the worst power conference team in the country. Just got run out of the gym by an 0-3 D2 team, Fort Hays State. But Milwaukee is making their debut on the road. That's a little bit nerve-wracking. Kai, any thoughts here?
I'll ask what the current spread is, Jim, real quick. Because we said yesterday that Oregon State should 10.5, perfect, yes. Because we said yesterday Oregon State should not be double-digit favorites over anybody, and the same applies to Kansas State. So I'm going to lean Milwaukee in this one, even though it's their first game. Kansas State's been a disaster this year.
All right, Sean P. asking about App State and Charlotte. Matt, I'm going to you for that one.
Yeah, I was hoping it would come down, and it has. Shocking. One of the few instances we've seen line movement move, I guess, against us, if you will. So I made this game around 6. It looks like it opened at 4. Now it's down to 3.5. I will be hopping in here probably after the show ends. I just think, so this is a Charlotte team that started to kind of figure it out. Just think Virginia Light. Ron Sanchez is their head coach there. They play fantastic defense. They have some big guards who can make some stuff happen off the dribble. It should be a low, kind of grinded out type game, so it's not a possession feel that you'd like for a favorite, but it's a small enough number where I think at 4 you can take Charlotte here.
Yep, I'm kind of with Charlotte there below 4. You can get it below 4. I like Charlotte. Yep. They seem kind of like they're firing on all cylinders. App State's Justin Forrest, who averaged like 18 a game last year, has kind of done nothing so far this year. It's weird. He's coming off the bench and not making much of an impact. So that's a little concerning for them. Matt, one more, and then we'll hit the rest at the end of the show. Luke Beasley, our boy Luke Beasley, asking about Grand Canyon hosting Nevada. We won't quite have the same havocs in the crowd tonight, but I sort of liked Grand Canyon as a home dog. I liked it more at 3. I think it's 2.5 now, so I can't really recommend anything here. But the home dog against Nevada coming in, I'll take GCU if you were able to give me 3. What do you guys think?
This is a weave. Me, Kai on the total. I'm going to go under. Kai's going over, I believe. I don't want to speak on his behalf, but I think Nevada's playing a slightly more condensed, depressed tempo than we've seen in the past. Bryce Drew really wants to run his half-court stuff. I think historically he plays slower. Neither of those anecdotal takes, I think, are factored into the total price. So I think under actually plays well here. Kai, why am I an idiot?
No, to be fair, Matt, my overplay is strictly small, and I'm not even confident in it. So I'm not going to defend it one bit.
So follow me.
Oh, man, come on. You guys got to clash a little harder on that.
Yeah, there was no resistance either.
Matt's been better head-to-head this year so far.
Yeah, that'll last on a super small sample. But, yes, Jim, I'll take back the mic here. Back to the rundown on the outline.
We've got a couple people asking about the game that's coming up next on the outline. Perfect. So let's hit that.
We read their mind. Northeastern at UMass. The Battle of Boston. 2 of the many Boston-based programs. Yep, exactly. 2 teams making their debut. So
outline.
Head-to-head
matchup.
Every time.
Came so close.
You wrote the outline.
I know. Murray State, Southern Illinois. Let's talk about that game first, and we'll talk about the Battle of Boston. We talked about Murray a few times on this program before. They looked really impressive against Austin Peay, obviously, and they looked very dominant in some of their non-con games. SIUC coming off a big COVID interruption, I believe, 2-3 weeks ago. They should have lost to SEMO at home. This is an SIU team I really want no part of. I think the line's gotten inflated really high, though. I see 6 right now. I think this should be closer to a 3 or 4 point spread, but just based on sheer lack of trust in SIUC and their whole roster rotation disjointedness, I'm going to stay away. Kai, where do you stand here?
Yeah, I mean, before the season, I would have been all over SIU here. They're well coached by Mullins, who had a surprisingly good year last year after they lost their entire team pretty much. But like you said, they're a little banged up, Matt. Little injury prone. The SEMO game scares me. I know they covered in overtime miraculously. We were against each other on that one, so that should not have happened. And then Murray just beat the doors off Austin Peay by 30 points. So maybe they're starting to hit their groove. The play I like most in this game is the under, actually. McMahon's playing a slower pace, a la 2018 versus last season. SIU plays very slow, tries to make the game kind of a physical affair. So the under is a play for me. My strike price, let's just do that, would be 133. So any under until 133 is what I would take in this one. And then at 6.5, I actually like Carbondale small as a dog in this one. Look for a fun guard matchup, by the way, Marcus Domask versus Tevin Brown. That's going to be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, I like SIU as the home dog here. I know they're missing Muila, JD Muila, the forward JUCO transfer, but still pretty young. Murray State off that big win against Austin Peay. I could see them, going back out of conference, not being quite as engaged.
Right.
SIU maybe a little bit of a bounce back effort from that sort of disappointment against SIUE, even though they did end up winning. So I like the home dog. I'll take it at plus 6.5. I will lock that one in. I'll be taking that one. Matt?
I salute your courage there. Let's go back to the outline. Let's get back on track. Sorry, production team. I'm just too excited.
Key point here, Stinky's Pig. UMass is not in Boston. It is in Amherst.
It's in Amherst, I know, but it's close-ish, kind of, right? Like an hour drive? I'll check my geography there.
I think it's pretty close.
Close-ish. The greater Boston area.
Has like 30 D1 teams.
Yeah, there's so many there. Northeastern at UMass. As I said earlier, 2 teams making their debut this season. So far, just anecdotally, we've seen these spots be a little bit unpredictable, a little volatile from a side perspective. However, I do think they've played well from an over lens. Teams pent up demand wanting to get out there their first game, especially a scenario where it's not a conference game. I think both coaches are willing to maybe try out a few more things, let their guys a little looser, not keep the restrictor plates on as much. I think that plays well for a little bit of a faster pace. And UMass can play helter-skelter, and they have no problem getting up and down. And I think Northeastern, while usually very disciplined under Bill Cohen, in this particular matchup might be willing to get lured into a track meet. I like the over here. Jim, I'll go to you first. Do you have a total or side lean?
I don't think that Northeastern will get into a track meet. And the only reason I would say maybe is because it's the opener and maybe they're a little more helter-skelter. But I think this is going to be a Northeastern team that's way more focused on scoring through the paint with Chris Doherty, a la the Scott Etherton teams of 4 or 5 years ago. Yep. Just kind of pounding it inside, playing a little more half court. Because they don't have a ton of depth. There's not a ton of proven guys on the roster. I think their bench is going to be almost all freshmen. So, slowing it down probably makes some sense for them. I do like Northeastern. I'm going to take them here. I just think two teams debuting. I'll take the coach I trust a lot more. Take Cohen over McCall. Fair. UMass definitely the more talented team. No question about that. But I will go with Northeastern 6.5. Yeah, Northeastern 6.5. I'll take that one. Kai, what about you here?
Yeah, line keeps climbing. I'll also take Northeastern, Jim, plus 6.5. Both teams coming out of quarantine or at least making their debuts this season. So no advantage when you look at it from that lens. UMass fans, apologies to UMass fans, think UMass is awesome this year. And Trey Mitchell definitely is, but I'm just pumping the brakes just a little bit on the hype here. Northeastern's a very, very, very well-coached team. Bill Cohen, beautiful offense. He's one of our favorite mid-major coaches in the country. And remember the name, guys, Tyson Walker, sophomore point guard for Northeastern. Fantastic. Going to be a star. I think he gets a lot done against UMass tonight. So I am with Jim on the 6.5 for the Huskies.
I think I'll lean that way as well. And one final apology to any UMass Amherst grads out there for thinking UMass was within the Boston greater area. It's like over an hour and a half away, as I just did a quick Google map on the side. So 0 for 1 on match geography battles today. Let's keep cruising here to probably the marquee matchup of the evening. It's Iowa State at Iowa. Please note that the outline should be switched. Iowa's playing host here, where they've been a wrecking ball all season, I guess really the last few years. They're 3-1 against the spread. Should be 4-0 if it wasn't for that Southern miracle backdoor bank job. They're also
had money on it too.
Yeah, I'm sorry for any ticket holders out there who took that in the chin. Iowa also 4-0 to the over. That makes pretty much sense with just given how we think of them as an offensive first team, defense sometimes optional. This spread is massive for an Iowa State-Iowa bout. I don't have the updated spread in front of me, but Jim, I'll go to you here again first. Sorry, Kai, I want to kick it to Jim here. I know he has a stronger take. Do you think this spread's too large, or is Iowa just in 2 classes above Iowa State this season?
Yeah, I see it around 13.5. I think Iowa's 5 classes ahead of Iowa State. It's not. I mean, if Iowa cares about this game, and they will, it's Cyhawk. It matters to them. Right. They could run them out. I mean, they just beat North Carolina at home by 13. Yeah. I mean, I don't think they'll make 17 threes in this one. They shot the F out of the ball against the Tar Heels, but Garza's going to eat in this one. I mean, the Cyclones don't have the bigs that UNC had to combat him inside. We saw him kind of break out in the second half of that game, get a couple and ones, really change the momentum as UNC was trying to come back. I think this could be like a 35-point Garza statement as a senior against my in-state rival. And really, the whole Iowa team is pretty veteran. He and Bohannon will definitely lead them in this one. So I would not even think about touching Iowa State personally, even at a double-digit number. I just think Iowa could win by 25.
Yeah, Garza's going to have 30, 35, Jimmy, right? He's going to murder them. The Clones were down to Pine Bluff at half, guys. They lost to our Jack Bunnies, and Iowa just beat UNC. I mean, Jim, 5 classes might not be enough to separate these teams. If your best player, or if Jalen Coleman Lands is your highest used player on your team, you're in major trouble, and that's currently what Iowa State's situation is. So I think Iowa wins by 20. I think it's not even going to be close.
Well, that's the problem with Jamin Coleman Lands, Kai, is that he thinks he should be the highest usage player on whatever team he's on. So,
the chat mob is all saying, "Well, I guess we take Iowa State then." We were all too strong on that one. They're pushing back against us.
To be fair, it's just one guy.
We get it.
All right, should we do chat mob first or best bets first?
Best bets.
Okay, yeah, go best bets.
Jet, as I see the outline to my right, which I rarely follow but will at this particular moment, Jim, kick us off for best bets here. Get back on track today.
All right, yeah. So I've been kind of peeking all over the board. My best bets have been rough lately, so I was trying to find one I liked a lot. Nothing too great. I'm going to go Iona though. bouncing back after the weird Morgan State loss where Morgan State had two big men go, each make 5 threes. That probably not sustainable. This one opened 2.5 at Chris. Iona minus 2.5. It's up to -4. I will lock it in at 4. I would be worried at 4.5, but if I can get that 4, I'll be okay with it. I just think they're a class above Fairfield. Asante Gist got on the court for 6 minutes for his debut last game. If he's able to, play 25 minutes and be a significant scorer for them, that's massive. And yeah, I think the Morgan State was a little bit of an outlier game, and clearly the market does too if they're buying into Iona at this point. But I will take Iona.
I'm with you on that one, Jim. Even at 4, I still think the spread's too low, even though it's already got bet up pretty sharply there. I'm going to stay in the Big Apple for my best bet. St. John's over Seton Hall, as I talked about earlier. I just think the spread's way too inflated right now. It feels like more of a pick'em game, a coin flip where if you're catching 4.5, 5, like I said, anything over 4 is still good value. I'd hop in. So I'll just reiterate that. Kai, your best bet?
My best bet is Rider, guys. Seton, this line's been moving, man. So let me know where it's at right now. I think they're actually a favorite, -1.5. But they were a dog this morning right before the show. Manhattan, this is their first game of the year coming out of COVID. We've seen what teams have done coming out of that. And Rider, an impressive showing we talked about a little earlier against St. John's after getting absolutely destroyed by Syracuse. Dwight Murray, a transfer from Incarnate Word's been very, very good for this team so far. Rider's basically a bunch of new pieces under Kevin Baggett. So this feels like a game Rider wins just from Manhattan having no experience so far this year. And Rider sort of owned the series the last couple of years. Granted, they've had a lot more talent. But I will take the Bronx -1.5. Thank you, Phil. That will be my best bet for the game.
All right, let's go to some chat mob questions.
All right, Ryan Abramowitz asked about Cal State Fullerton headed to San Diego. He said he saw the spread at 8.5. I saw it lower than that this morning, so it must have been getting hit. Matt, you mentioned to us in our internal chat about Fullerton just getting that waiver for Trey Maddox. However, it is their debut. San Diego at least has one game under their belt. Where do you lean in this one down in Southern California?
It's a big spread. I'd go as far as to say it's probably too big for two teams that seem like they're in the same weight class there. I'd probably take the dog. I'd take the points.
I think I would lean that way as well, personally. Tim Madden asked about Iona. We covered that. Luke Beasley had another one about George Washington and Delaware. Does George Washington cross the Delaware, guys?
Nice.
Matt?
Perfect.
No, they're probably going to trip and fall face first and drown like they have the last couple games. I will be returning to the George Washington well. I've said it before in our podcast. I'll say it again. I've been wrong about a lot of things in my life. I've not been as wrong about anything as I have been about this George Washington team to start the year. This is kind of a put up or shut up spot for me. I will be on them small. I think the line's pretty insane, just given Delaware's lost a lot. I just don't think they're as good as the market holds them up to be. I'll be on G-Dub. This is your last chance, Colonials. Don't let me down.
I do that already.
I'm with Matt on the last chance saloon here. They've got to. We'll see what you got here, George Washington. All right, Phil Shepard asked if Doug Wilson is playing today. Matt, you said the beat writer said he's day-to-day for Friday and Saturday, correct?
I just read the Sioux Falls local report said it was a precautionary measure. Eric Henderson said they kept him out for precautionary reasons. I'm not sure what that means for tonight or for tomorrow. I bet there's a decent chance he makes an appearance. But, again, these are not conference games. So right. Just, South Dakota State, they may be inclined just to save him for those, obviously much more important games. Not really going to chase an at-large bid, most likely. So I think probably a good chance he sits, honestly, even though he was apparently a precautionary holdout.
Yep. Mary Lou Navita asking about Kansas versus Omaha. I think there's a key injury here on this one, too. Marlon Ruffin, the Omaha leading scorer, highest usage guy. He hasn't played recently. He's off the bench, so it's really tough to know if he's playing because he won't be in the starting lineup. But that is one you're going to want to monitor. Without him, I do think KU could blow them out. I mean, KU's had 2 straight close ones at Allen Fieldhouse. Feels like, at some point they got to really hit the gas pedal against some lesser competition. But we'll see if that one turns out. Any thoughts there, Kai?
No thoughts. Probably lean over. Spread seems very high, but I'm not inclined to bet against Kansas in what should be a high possession game.
Yeah, right. Agreed. Yeah. All right. I think let me Matt. You do the SBR. Oh, Kai, you've got a couple others.
I saw one from Zach. He asked about Niagara St. Peter's. Anyone have a take on that game? Niagara looked terrible game one. I'll say that.
Yeah, I know. I'm on the Eagles here as well. I'm worried that I'm going to get a sort of a deja vu of Northern Arizona last night, a team that's playing their second game out of a COVID shutdown I thought would play better. Riverside had them buried within 5 seconds. Niagara did not look good against Syracuse, a shorthanded Syracuse team. Again, I'm hoping I don't see another second game letdown. I think the price is too high, though. I'm taking Niagara in the points here.
Okay, yeah, I'm kind of against you, Matt. We know what's happened when you bet against St. Peter's the past calendar year, basically.
It doesn't matter. But I bet on a bet against them. I've missed every bet on or against St. Peter's in the last 18 months. So I'll probably lose this one again, likely.
Moser Porter asking about Davidson, Georgia Southern. I kind of like the underdog there, but not, Georgia Southern, a bunch of new guys and a new coach. They could be undone by the execution of Davidson, so not a whole lot strong. And our guy Chuck Ferretti asking about bragging rights. It is a Saturday game, but people could ask about Saturday game.
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous as a Mizzou fan. I don't know that we have the shooting to beat Illinois' pack line, although we've made some shots so far this year. Yes, I'm saying we because I'm a Mizzou grad. And Illinois is just, they've been very good. They blew out Duke on the road. Do we think that, Mizzou is much better than Duke? I don't know. Hesitant to say it, but I think it's closer to a coin flip. I won't bet it.
Jim, Circa tweeted that they would open this game around 1.5 or around 1. That's what KenPom has it. I bet people bet Illinois up. I hope they do, because I would love to be on Mizzou in this game. I think we're feisty. The Tigers are feisty this season. Why not? Why not us?
There you go. Sean Lutz, North Texas, West Virginia. I like the dog there. It's been bet way down, so I can't really recommend it at 12 anymore, but North Texas, pretty feisty squad, and West Virginia maybe not as up for this one as they have been in past games, like at Georgetown, where they took care of business late. Yeah. And then last question here, Zach Bryant's situation at Georgia Southern. That's a great question. I saw that. So I even looked up Georgia Southern's academic calendar yesterday, and grades are due today. So if he is a semester transfer, he could potentially play today, but I'm not entirely sure. When he committed, it said mid-season transfer, so perhaps he will be good to go with the posting of grades, but hard to rely on it. Maybe check the box score, and I don't know. You can't get out in front of that one just because the reporting's not that great, so you're going to have to hope that he's in the lineup.
Even if he plays, even if he plays, there's no guarantee he'll be 100% or play big minutes, but he could be a game changer. Great question. Our chat mob is so informed, one of the highest IQ chat mobs I think out there. Shall we wrap this sucker up? Happy weekend, everyone out there. Thanks for tuning in this week. We'll be back with you on Monday. Again, SBRodds.com. Make sure to line shop. Line value is king. We will continue to beat that into the ground. SBRpicks.com/NCAAB for our stuff, other content. Again, thanks for joining us, folks. Take care.